Proposal 1's passage means marijuana will be coming to Michigan.
Ahead of that, though, we sent our Doug READON to Denver, the first state to legalize recreational pot, to make sense of everything for us. He joins us live in Denver tonight. Doug?
Yeah, hey, good evening, guys. We're coming to you live from the roof of our sister station here in Denver, Colorado, Fox 31, on a very chilly night. Why do we come out here? Well, Denver and Colorado were the first city and state, of course, to legalize recreational use of marijuana. The same thing that Michigan did not about a week ago, guys. And so a lot of questions to be answered here still on what exactly this means. And we know that a lot of our viewers are parents. And so, of course, we thought it would be very appropriate tonight to start with exactly what this means for our kids, for our youth, and exactly how marijuana gets to those dispensaries where it's sold and all the stops it makes along the way. We'll begin with that tonight.
Forget weed in the baggie.
What's already in Colorado and what's coming for Michigan isn't your parents' pot.
We are so far beyond that in Colorado.
But parents here in the Centennial State are hoping parents in the mitten pay attention too, because marijuana doesn't look like marijuana anymore. Henny Lastly, founder of nonprofit concerned parents group Smart Colorado, says it's much more familiar now.
THC in Colorado is in many forms, from edible foods, drinks, sodas, lotions, gum.
And while many do come with markings, thanks to Smart Colorado's lobbying,
we are deeply concerned about products that can't be marked.
Like marijuana-infused soda or coffee. And Henny says even for the state that legalized it first more than 5 years ago, regulation is still a work in progress.
There were many things that were done first before regulation was really thought through. We think we have a long way to go.
I have a hard time saying that.
Ian Behringer, founder of RM3 Labs, not far away in Boulder, tests the products that go to dispensary shelves every day.
Whatever anybody has put THC into, we've tested it for potency.
Here, products will come through the lab, sometimes more than once, in different forms. Plants, edible foods, concentrates, and Ian says regulation is actually, in his view, nearing completion.
There don't seem to be any, major crises coming out at this point. Things are pretty stable.
It was only after pot was legalized in Colorado that testing became mandatory, not just for potency, but also
Biocontaminant testing, looking for yeast and mold, or salmonella, or the dangerous types of E. coli.
Ian says the delay wasn't a lack of preparedness, it was a lack of science. When it came to studying marijuana, being the first to legalize, they didn't just have to rewrite the book.
There was no book beforehand.
So as Colorado continues in their great legalization experiment, they hope Michiganders will learn from their past.
I think it's really key for the state of Michigan to be thoughtful and take it very slow about what is actually coming on the market and when.
So guys, there is a lot to cover there. Those just a few of the things that Michigan is going to have to start thinking about now. What exactly does the testing element to this all mean? Again, we heard Ian say there that there really was no book written on this when it came to what they were looking for, how they were going to do it, the equipment they were going to use, simply because nobody had done it yet here in the States. So now that the legwork has been done, the hope everyone here told us is that Michigan can just do it faster. One of the big questions a lot of people are probably going to have when marijuana starts hitting the streets in Michigan are, what are the places that sell it, the dispensaries, actually going to look like? We're inside of one right now, and it's probably not what you expected. It looks similar to a waiting room. They even have apparel and menu boards similar to something you'd see at your favorite restaurant.
It's really not as scary as it's been perceived to be.
When marijuana sales begin in Michigan, it could look something like this. And as Kim Casey, communications director for Native Roots, walked us around one of their 20 Colorado stores, she noted safety is the name of the dispensary game.
Hi, how are you? You have to come to a check-in, which is where they will check your ID.
After checking in, customers are led into a locked sales room behind key-coded doors. Only staff can buzz people in.
There's a tremendous amount of focus on safety, on following protocol, on following the rules and regulations.
And
in Colorado, it is being run as a business.
A focus on customer service.
We have so many people who are exploring this for the first time, who come in and don't really understand or know what they're looking for.
Although there's no mandated state employee training, Kim says reputable shops like Native Roots will extensively train their workers in-house.
We believe not only that it's important for them to understand their products, understand the rules and regulations, but also be well-versed in general cannabis knowledge.
Even though there's THC in it, it's not going to get you high.
Bud tenders, as they're aptly called in Colorado, like Joshua Walker, say you don't need to be an expert. That's what he's here for.
I'm going to kind of see where their knowledge of cannabis is first and see whether they're more interested in something to smoke, something to eat, or something to vape. You have to go a little bit more above and beyond for the customer because some people are, again, like you said, kind of a little bit drawn back by it or intimidated by the experience.
Dispensaries didn't pop up overnight, and they won't either in Michigan.
We've worked hard to get this right and to take a good government approach to it.
Dr. Ashley Kilroy oversees the Denver Department of Excise and Licensing, in charge of marijuana policy in the city.
You have to remain nimble. You have to remain quick and able to assess what's going on and change and pivot when you need to.
For Denver, their law mandated sales within a year of passage. Michigan didn't spell that out, so what Dr. Kilroy recommends is getting an early jump on research.
Really is important for Michigan to start collecting data now. Are more people driving high before or after legalization? Are more people consuming publicly before or after legalization? Are more kids being suspended for marijuana use at school before or after legalization?
And she says expect to see some new hands on deck at the city level.
Our licensing department had obviously a lot of licensing issues and new people to license. We had new inspectors that had to go out. We had a lot of new construction going on.
As for whether or not we could see a Native Roots location in Michigan soon,
As of right now, I don't know.
and at the end of each night, any product containing any sort of cannabis product is put here in this vault, locked away for the night, to be brought back out the next morning. This door, which leads to the vault, also has keypad access for staff only, and that is a state regulation, guys. In Denver, Doug Reardon, Fox 17 News.
We were a little nervous in the beginning because we didn't know what was going to take place.
Sergeant Brett Hinkle has been on the Denver police force for over 20 years, but only recently has he taken on a new beat, marijuana, and it came with a big learning curve.
Researching it, researching the laws, training our officers, making sure that everybody was on the same page and knew the law.
Because new laws meant new problems.
Licensed facilities, there was a little bit more burglaries. We have a lot of backyard grows which are illegal unless they're in a locked and closed structure. So we had to monitor the illegal grows, the illegal sales, the illegal diversion out of state.
The marijuana unit with 3 full-time sergeants and 10 full-time detectives is the most expensive unit on the force because new problems are always popping up. But police aren't the only ones learning on the fly.
Get ready, because you have to learn a whole lot in a really short amount of time.
Mike Van Dyke with the Colorado Department of Public Health says problem prevention is all in the numbers.
I think that's the most important thing, is really collecting the data, not only on health outcomes, but on who is using and trying to get really good data on baseline rates of that.
Because while most are following the law,
we do see more visits to the emergency room for things like psychosis related to marijuana. We see more visits for things like nausea and vomiting due to chronic long-term marijuana use. We've definitely seen increases in things like child poisonings due to marijuana, but the overall numbers are not huge.
And there is one very positive figure the department is seeing.
I think one of the most surprising things that we've seen is that high school use has not increased since legalization.
It's not every man for themselves. In Colorado, Sergeant Hinkle says for any city department, collaboration will be key.
With the fire department, with our neighborhood inspections, with all the other entities in the city, because I would say for Michigan and other places, you're going to want that collaborative approach. That's going to be huge for you because you know, marijuana is a big beast, and you can't all tame that without all the other city agencies.